These are 5 biggest mistakes you can make as a new author, and you cannot afford that. Alright guys, so today I'm gonna share you the 5 mistakes that most authors, new authors make, and I cannot stretch enough how important these mistakes and how common these mistakes are. I speak to authors and wannabe authors and new authors and repeated authors every single day for the last 6 years. And I have to tell you, more than 80% of people make at least 3 of these 5 mistakes. So you have to avoid them at all costs. So let's get going. Alright, mistake number 1. Marketing of your book starts in the beginning, not at the end. So many authors think, okay, I'll get my book finished, then I'm gonna think about marketing afterwards. And that is the first mistake most authors make. Now keep in mind, the research phase, you have to answer a few crucial questions, such as, is there a market for a book like mine? How my customers and readers speak? What cover is attractive to them? What title is attractive to them? What language is attractive to them? You have to answer all of these questions. Otherwise, you're going to be pushing against a hard wall which you cannot move, and that's what marketing is. Marketing is just a push, right? And you want this push to be a downhill roll down, right? You want to be a snowball effect, not pushing something uphill, but you cannot afford to push, and don't have the strength to push. So I really like this analogy, uphill versus downhill, in terms of marketing. So you really have to do a lot of the hard work in the very beginning, even before you start writing the outline of the book itself. So that's the key. Alright, mistake number 2. Spend more time on the cover and the title than anywhere else. I cannot stretch this enough. The cover and your title is the foundation, the duo, the combination that is the most crucial. People, even if you have a big name, which most of you watching this do not have a big name which is recognizable by readers, and readers buy the book because of your name, not because of the title, most people are looking at books as solutions. Now, I'm assuming that you are an author in a non-fiction space. If you are in fictional, this video is not for you, so you can leave. But if you are a non-fiction, or you want to be a non-fiction author who wants to provide value to your readers, cover and title are the 2 most crucial elements, and to have alignment between those 2 is crucial. Now here are a few aspects you have to understand. You really have to know how your reader is speaking. I mentioned that a bit more on that in mistake number 1. But you have to understand the reader's journey. Let's say a reader jumps on Amazon and he sees a book like yours. Now, first of all, he has to see it, scrolling down, and it has to grab your reader's attention, right? That's your cover, that's your title, popping out, right? Not just popping out, resonating right away. Is your book resonating? Is the cover and the title of your book resonating with your ideal readers? You have to answer this question. And first of all, and second of all, does it create the perception of a solution to their problems? This is the second question that you have to answer. Now, if the answer is yes, then you have to answer the third question. Is this solution unique and something that they haven't seen before, or an improved version of something they heard, so we stick to your book instead of looking for other solutions, right? So these are the 3 key questions when it comes to book title and the cover combination. I can go much more in detail on that. I can make a separate video. Comment below if you want me to make a second video on what does it take to create this really resonating combination that is gonna sell your book. But you cannot neglect that. You cannot just think, oh, I'm gonna come up with a title in the shower and it's gonna sound right, and as a consequence of that, it's gonna resonate with the readers. That's not the case. That's never gonna be the case. You have to do the research. You have to understand how people react to what they see, how readers actually buy books, how book buyers actually buy books, not necessarily their readers or very vigorous readers. So that's a topic for another conversation. So that's mistake number 2. Or the third biggest mistake is value over writing quality. Now, hold on for a second. Think about this, right? In nonfiction books, people are looking more at value, at unique value that you will give them, that you'll get from your book over the nice flow, the nice sentencing. Now, keep in mind, all of these things are important. Professional writing is extremely important because if your writing is not on a good level, people are not gonna care about the value. But assuming that your book is good, I'm not talking about great. I'm talking about good. Assuming your book writing quality is good and it flows. The major element that people are looking for when they're reading the book is value. Do you solve your readers' problems? That's the question that you have to answer. And how are you gonna help your readers to solve their problems? And this has to be the sole focus on your book. And anything has to be relevant. Whenever any client of mine who asks me, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I always tell them, let's answer this simple question. Is this what we are about to write, or we're going to include in the book, relevant to the solution that our readers are looking for their problem? If that's relevant and if that's important, more than likely we're going to include that and we're going to make sure that that piece is in the book. So that's mistake number 3 that you want to avoid. All right, mistake number 4, not having the second step. Now, what the hell does that mean? Now, some of you might know that there is such a thing as an upsell. Right now, this is not going to be that, but I want to explain the reader's journey to you and what people are actually looking for. People, whenever we buy anything from anyone, and we both know already that people buy from people and people like buying from people. And whenever we buy a book, this is the beginning of the relationship between, and even the readers don't realize that sometimes in the beginning. That's the beginning of the relationship between the reader and the author, meaning yourself. Now, most people don't want one-night stands, right? They don't want one-off relationships, right? Just like anywhere else. People want continuous, prosperous relationships as long as they get value, as long as there's value in both ways. Now, in this part, it's going to be more value from you to the reader until you reach a certain point. But keep in mind, there is nothing wrong with continuing this journey. And actually, subconsciously, readers want that. Readers want you to take them on a journey, not just through the book, but to take them somewhere else, something that's a next step in the solutions to their problems, right? Something that they admire, something that they desire, right? So, in my opinion, and we did a lot of research on that, if done right, you have to include something in a book that continues that journey. Maybe they buy something else. You don't necessarily have to buy something. Maybe you want them to watch something else to create that more deeper connection. Maybe we want them to see you on what else you do, right? Maybe we're gonna connect with you that way. But we figured that this is the most prosperous way to create a relationship between you and the reader. At the same time, you're gonna make so much more, you're gonna become so much more profitable author, and the readers are gonna be so much happier if you do it right. Now, keep in mind, if you're gonna include a bunch of promotions in the book, people are not gonna like that. If that's not something that's 100% relevant to what your readers and to what your people are looking for, they're not gonna like that. If you're gonna leave negative reviews, don't bother. But if you're willing to understand your readers and include something that they actually want and what they actually need, you are doing yourself a disservice by not including that extra step in the book and outside. Alright, mistake number 5, not using your book for leverage and for media. Now, here's what's happening. Now, once you did a lot of work, your book is published, you're engaging with readers, you're getting reviews, you're promoting your book, you're selling copies, everything is happening, right? And why wouldn't you use that book to do even more, right? Why wouldn't you go on podcast? Why wouldn't you go on stage and speak about that solution? Why you wouldn't extend? People consume content in different ways. That's why people buy audiobooks, paperback, hardback, ebooks. Some people buy all of these formats, and that's the same person who bought everything, right? And people like to listen to that on stage, on podcasts, elaborate more, answer specific questions. Why you wouldn't use that book to open doors? You're missing out if you don't do that. And we have seen so many of our clients. It's so easy, so much easier to open doors in a very selected niche and create more prosperous relationships with other people, other content creators, and get more readers for your book and create this vicious cycle. At the same time, you're practicing to really speak on the subject matter in front of the others. So there are so many benefits of that. Of course, it's going to consume a little bit of your time, but if you wrote the book in the first place, right, which probably means that you are pretty committed and this is the path where you are going, why you wouldn't do that? Now, how to get that done? That's a separate question, but you really have to explore that possible opportunity. So 100%, the fifth mistake you absolutely must avoid is not using your book for leverage and for media. All right, now the sixth biggest mistake you can actually make, and you don't want to make this mistake, is running Amazon ads. You absolutely must run Amazon ads. And I'm a big proponent of Amazon ads. And if you have seen any of my other videos, you probably already know that. And here's why. Amazon ads is probably the best way, definitely the best way in my opinion, to run and sell your book without investing any extra money, creating organic sales, and really getting your book into more readers' hands without having to do any extra investment. You don't have to spend extra money, right? Because the goal of Amazon ads is not to make a profit, but to really not lose any money so you can keep selling, keep increasing your organic ranking in Amazon algorithms, in Google algorithms, and everywhere else, right? Which actually it does that on a long enough time scale, 3, 5, 6 months down the road, you're gonna see how much fruits you're gonna get from that labor, right? So there's absolutely, even if you're a complete beginner, and you can just go in and Amazon ads and set up some automatic campaigns with relatively low budget, you're still gonna be better off, assuming you didn't make other mistakes like mistake number one, right? But if you made mistake number one and you don't really know how your customers are speaking, nobody cares about your book, nobody can recognize the problem you're solving, Amazon ads will not work. But assuming you did not make other big mistakes, Amazon ads is a must. Now, if you want me to create a separate video on how to run Amazon ads profitably, successfully, not profitably, but how to scale your book sales without losing money, because profit is not, it's possible to run it profitably, but that's not the goal. The goal is to not lose money and keep increasing your sales, but keep reaching more people and getting more media and all these kind of great benefits, opposed to making a couple dollars of profit, which is not gonna make you rich anyway. That's not the goal. The profits come from other sources, but some of the things that I mentioned before, the leverage, the media, all these kind of things, right? You're gonna make so much more money there, right? If your agenda is to make money. But if you didn't make any big mistakes, you absolutely must run Amazon ads. And if you want me to create a video, I'm gonna create a separate video on how to do that step by step. So for that, comment down below. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video. These are 6 biggest mistakes you absolutely must avoid if you want to be successful with your book. So I hope you enjoyed this video and see you in the next one.